Welcome back, everybody. It is time for another video newsletter. This one's going to be kind of a short one. It's going to be kind of an update to one that we did a while back on sanding and finishing. First things first, thanks again for watching, and be sure and go on and subscribe to our video channel. That way you know when we get brand new videos that come out. So, getting right into it. As far as the sanding goes, way back when we did our sanding video, we talked about using an 80 grit sanding belt to take off all the ink, and then a 120 sanding belt to finish it up. And that still works, but what we're finding is we're getting a lot of people and a lot of feedback saying that their 80 belt grit paper is starting to get loaded up. Even with the cleaner that we use for the sanding belt, it still would kind of load up. So for the last several months, I've been trying something and it's worked out pretty well. So I want to share it with you guys. Rather than using an 80 grit paper for your initial sand, I now use either a 40 or a 50 grit paper. And that's what this is a 40. What that does is on the back of the sign, again, sand cross grain, that's all you need to do. When you go to the front of the sign, sand with the grain, just like the other video said, except on this one, using a 40 grit, it'll take that ink off much faster, and it won't load up the way the 80 grit belt paper will. So that's the only thing. And then I go and finish up with a 120 grit. So the only difference between the other video on our sanding operation is instead of using an 80 and a 120, use a 40 or a 50, whatever you can find, and a 120 belt. And that will, I'm finding that my belts are lasting like 10 times longer. My 40 grit belt lasts at least 10 times longer than my 80 grit belt on that initial sand. And then the 120, that hasn't changed. So review the old finishing and sanding operation video, and everything is the same except just change to a 40 or a 50 grit on the initial sand and then go on to a 120. So we'll go on to the finishing stuff next. Okay guys, we're back. Now, we just talked about the sanding, the update on the sanding. Now I want to do a little bit of an update on our finishing operation. The video that you saw before recommends this. This is a Helmsman spar urethane made for outside. We still recommend this finish. It's got a great nozzle and it's a great finish. However, it's about going on $9 a can. We heard from one of our students down in Texas that recommended we try something else. Gerald down in Texas, he recommended we try something else. And we went to Walmart and got a new finish. And now we're also recommending this. This is Krylon Clear. It's made for outside. It dries super fast. The one drawback that this has or doesn't have that this one does is the nozzle. I like this nozzle much, much better. But this is less than $4 a can. This is almost $9 a can. So this is less than half the price. So for that, I can deal with the nozzle. We kind of figured you could too. So this doesn't, the Krylon doesn't spray near as well as the Minwax does, but I've been using it now for probably about 3.5, 4 months in my Oatman operation, and it works out really, really well. It dries super fast. It probably dries faster even than the Minwax does. So the only drawback is the nozzle, with one possible exception. When you first spray your sign, you want to make sure that you let it dry before you go start handling it. The reason I say that is because when you spray the edges and do the finishing, just like I showed on the prior video, when you do the finishing, the Krylon will affect that black ink. But if you let it dry, and again, if you got any kind of nice weather at all, it'll only take 5 or 6 minutes for it to dry, maybe even less. Then if you don't let it dry, that black will come off on your fingers. But if you let it dry, then you're good to go. Again, 5 minutes should be plenty for it to dry, and then it's nice and solid, and it's a great finish. And it's made for outside. So this is what I'm using now, and we highly recommend it. So That's the update on the sanding, the update on the finishing. We're going to shut the camera off and come back and close. Hey, Dad, come on over and sit down and let the folks know what we got coming up on the next video.
Okay. Welcome back, folks. Our next video is going to be on patterns for cutting different shapes that we've showed you on separate videos and told you about. And now we have, you know about the live to ride pattern, the cutout pattern, and the layout pattern. Now we have patterns for things like dog bones, and we have the pattern for the little ribbon sign that goes underneath the live to ride sign. We have other patterns, bigger ribbon patterns that a lot of our customers have asked it for, to make the cutout patterns for them so they can cut the same shape size that we cut. So that's what we're going to do in our next video. And good job on that sanding and finishing video.
Thank you. Hey, don't forget, guys, give us some feedback. Let us know what you think. If you want us to do a video on something that you have a question on or whatever,
Good point.
Give us some suggestions. We've got a lot of stuff in the works, but if there's some suggestions out there, we'd be happy to do a video on what you guys are looking for. And the other thing is, be sure if you come across this video or any of our videos and you're not a subscriber, go on and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you'll get notification when we got new videos coming out. So we're getting ready to do this next video on the shaped signs and different things. So stay tuned and we'll be back to you soon.
And just in case you think I'm a stranger, it's just because I've shaved.
Finally. Talk to you later, guys.